In the beginning, we're talking about how the slave mentality is one of the things that's still with us to some degree, and it's something we have to overturn. And one of the things that enslavement did and miseducation does now is instill in the most miseducated among us, not all, but too many, contempt for our own people, which means that we have a contempt for ourselves, which means we don't know and love ourselves. And so in creating models for just societies, the liberation movement is one of the things that we need to draw from. And those that have been successful in coming up with some of the cures to some of the problems, and this one of contempt and self-hatred is one of those. And so we need to look at movements that produced solutions to this, or people who did. Malcolm, who underwent organic transformation of mind, body, and spirit. What did he go through? How did that happen? Cabral, who underwent that. A number of us underwent this transformation in the 60s, but the majority did not, or they only underwent partial transformation. And so to restore a sense of self-love, it requires that we undergo an immersion experience where through mind, body, and spirit, we undergo a life, death, rebirth from the mind of negativity, for those of us who have it, self-hatred, arrogance, disrespect for self and people, to one where we come to a state of humility, of self-knowledge, self-respect, and self-love that leads to a transformation. You've heard me say this before, that this show is grounded in the sixfold stages to mental freedom. That is a brother named Vulunlela Waboga and we categorized these stages. I've added something to that. And I learned a lot from Vulunlela, who, by the way, is a chemist, a martial artist, and a musician, plays piano, a very creative brother. And so Malcolm had gone through this process, but he couldn't tell you what it was because he was too close to it. And I couldn't either when I was first going through it. It's an experience. So even when we'll go through the explanation of what the stages are you go through when you're waking up, that isn't sufficient because that is a despiritualized, intellectualized explanation. You have to experience this. This is a transformation. As I said before, in African systems, to know the truth, you have to be the truth. It's a process of becoming. It's a process of transformation. So that guy that you see in the back, Amilcar Cabral, one of the best leaders, the best leader, I think, best thinker, best organizer of any leaders in the 20th century. And the main reason is he was gifted, we all are. The main reason was because he had undergone this transformation. He said, we decided to be African, but it created a mind, spirit, body transformation. We often think of transformation as being political education. That's a part of it, but that's not the main part. Remember what Assata Shakur said about the Black Panther Party. We knew more about Mao and Marx than we knew about Harriet Tubman, or Nat Turner, our own history, you know what I mean? So this transformation is going into the depths of our souls. And as Malcolm said, drawing on a philosophy, changing our philosophy, our attitude pattern, thought pattern, communication pattern, and behavior pattern, from negative to positive. For him, from hustling to being a freedom fighter, from being slick to being smart. And I've often said, if you looked at Red, the street guy, he got to be so slimy looking that you wouldn't want to have him in your own house. But when you saw the transformation that he underwent, it was spiritual. It was reflected in his physical deportment, his communication, and his action. So this system is crucial, but it is especially crucial for leaders. It's for all our people. But the Western project has created an elite that has contempt for its people. And what we need now are spokespeople for our people, not leaders. We need multiple leaders who love the people, who place the people first. In fact, in this system, the best way to test that is if you have a committed person, they don't want money. Martin Luther King got the Nobel Prize. He refused to take the money for his family. He gave it to the movement. Malcolm made all kinds of money as the primary spokesperson for the Nation of Islam. And he lived on something like $700 a month. You know, he placed the people first. He said, when you become too committed to material things, you forget about your people. So the transformation is fundamental. If African leaders underwent that transformation, Africa wouldn't be in the situation it's in right now. Where in Nigeria, all the oil wealth has been stolen. Not part of it, all of it. Gone into the pockets of a few generals and politicians and overseas bank accounts. No excuse for that. Money before people. That transformation puts you in a different mindset. So in this show, we'll be doing the 6-fold stages to mental freedom. But here's the thing about it. It's got to be tied to your life. It's not going to work if it's just, oh, you listening to something and writing it down. You're doing, it's despiritualized, baby. Ain't no transformation in that. And I'm not saying everybody needs to be transformed. People watching this show are in different stages of awareness, but we all need work. I'm working on myself every day. I mean, you know, you ain't never got yourself just right. My mother used to tell me, I would tell her, oh, Mom, I'm really good at this. And she said, well, just remember, you can do better. Right. We're not perfect. We're here to get better, closer to God. So identity transformation is key. But we have the other problem, and it's called the pedagogical trap. One of my friends said, you shouldn't use that word. You know what I mean? Well, quantum physics, we use that word. You know what I mean? Psychiatry, we use that word. Pedagogy refers to teaching, method of instruction. We're in a pedagogical trap. That is, most of our people are still on the plantation when it comes to knowing our history and culture. We have the white view of it. And so it takes us out of our history and culture. But for those of us who have corrected it, and as many of the people who view this show, who are doing their reading, who are studying their history, and have got some knowledge of who they are. And I was looking at some of those comments on Malcolm, with some pretty heavy comments. I hadn't thought of some of them. Some back and forth dialogue, 41 people commenting. And I was saying, oh, we got some heavy people here. Oh, but I don't care how heavy you are in African-centered thought, how much you know about Africa. And if you happen to be among the few that know something about Afro-America, you know what I mean? We have a contradiction. For those of us who have gained the knowledge of our African history and African-American history and culture and past, we're still in a trap. That is, we have African-centered information and a Eurocentric methodology or system of teaching or learning it. And that is a big contradiction. Dr. Obenga, who's one of our best scholars, who, by the way, He was on our faculty at San Francisco State. Dr. Sheikh Diop's best student. He went back to Congo Brazzaville after teaching at San Francisco State for about 12 years. The brother speaks 10 languages, has written 17 books, has got an 18th book on the pharaohs. It's over 1,000 pages long, keeps playing with it. Finished. In Congo Brazzaville, they have just set up the Dr. Theophile Obenga University. A brand spanking new university. Dr. Wade Nobles sent me the link to it, showing the opening ceremonies with the president of Congo Brazzaville, who had been a student and an associate and friend of Theophile Obenga in school. And so he went back to Congo Brazzaville to set up that university, and they have set it up. We need a real African university in this country. I know with Dr. Obenga shaping the curriculum, it's going to be solid. But Dr. Obenga made this statement: we got African-centered thought, Eurocentric methodology, we got a problem. And you know why that's a problem? Because your method of education is designed to reproduce your society. So even though you have African knowledge, if you're using the method of your oppressor to teach it, you will be reproducing their society without even knowing it. You hear me? Paulo Freire, who wrote the book Pedagogy of the Oppressed, defined the essence of the Eurocentric system of education as a banking system where teachers deposit information into students, And so he constructed a system where he could have thinking students who dialogued and who had a say-so in their teaching. And that was like turning the student into a teacher, which is a good thing. And that is the essence of teaching, is being a student. Every good teacher is a student. I used to take notes on what my students said. I got reams of notes. So that's the problem. Again, despiritualization, the student is treated as an object, so you pour information into him. The problem with Paulo Freire's solution is that while he's democratized it, he did not address the problem of despiritualization. And so you end up with mental Europeans. In this particular case, people being able to dialogue with their teacher and even to teach what they're learning, but at the same time, there's no transformation of mind, body, and spirit. And I'm not knocking him because he did the best he could do with what he had to work with.